Hello everybody. So today is 4th of April and I'm back with my daily schedule. But interestingly, if you see the list that I have today, it's most about React. So this entire section from line number 7 to line number 23 is all about React. And the reason why I just put all this is because I'm really excited to just share this, that I've really gotten so much better in React. So from 31st to 4th, that means I think that's 5 days. So this 5 days I just constantly learning React and doing stuff in it. I'm just learning new stuff every day all about React, and I'm really excited to see the first project that I'll be working on with React. So I just want to talk about a few things that I learned about React and what are all the stuff that I know about React till now. So the number one thing is JSX, and JSX, which full form implies JavaScript XML. I think this is full form, but who cares? JSX is I was really confused about JSX earlier because first of all, they are very simple. Why? Because they just look like HTML elements, but the thing is they are not HTML elements. Instead, they look like HTML elements and they get converted to HTML elements, yes, but they are not HTML elements. Instead, they are something else. Instead, the best explanation that I can give right now about JSX is it's just something you pass to React DOM function, and whatever your JSX contains, it just renders that. Now here's a little bit of tweak in it. Here's a little bit of interesting thing in it. Now JSX, the naming of JSX really matters. Now suppose I have a JSX that is a p tag. For instance, let me just give it a live example. So it's a p tag, and here is a paragraph. So now this p tag we know that it's an HTML element, right? So we just said that here's a p tag, so just render that. Now what happens in React is we do create our own HTML elements which are not really HTML elements. Now for instance, I can create something like this. I can create something like, I don't know, suppose I'm making a YouTube application, so I'll just say something like YouTube search, and there will be something in it. For instance, there will be input tag, and which will be type of text, and the input tag will close, and then there will be a button, and the button will be closed, and on the button there will be something called search, and then I'll just close my YouTube search component. I'm sorry, I just revealed it, component. So this is also a JSX, but here is a little bit of difference. We know there is no such HTML element as YouTube search, right? We know there is an HTML element of input, we know there is an HTML element of button, but there is nothing like input YouTube search. So how to React will render this one, right? Because how will React know that this is different than this? This is native HTML element and this is not. This is, we created it. So the difference that React sees is the capitalization. Now this YouTube search, we just capitalized it, right? The first letter is capital. So seeing this, React knows that this is not a HTML element. Instead, it is a component which we made, and component is nothing but that returns some JSX. That means component is a function that will return some JSX. So this is a component and it's returning some JSX, which is this, and this is what I need to render. So how do React knows that? Because React knows that because it just sees that it's capitalized. So it just blew my mind when I I have been I started learning React a few months back, a couple of months back. In fact, I think it's like in November or December, and there I just heard it, in one of the lectures that I was attending to. I just heard this one, that one which is capital is different from the one which is small. Now that just blew my mind, because we know HTML is not case sensitive. So it doesn't matter if we write input in all lowercase or if we write input in all uppercase. Then how does this happen? Like, how does this differentiation goes on? It's capitalized, it's not. So what React does is, inside of its core, it assumes that whatever is in small, that means whatever is in lowercase, are just HTML elements, native HTML elements, and whatever is not, they are components, our custom made components. So this thing was really interesting for me, but then now I completely got it, and I completely understood it, that why it's different and why it's important to, why it's important about this case sensitive thing. And the second is functional components, and functional components are nothing but just a function that returns some JSX. And there's also another type of components in React, which is class-based component, which also returns some JSX. But the difference is, functional components do not have states, which means they are just dumb functions which doesn't do anything but returning JSX. Whereas class-based component have states, they have lifecycle methods. You can do a whole lot of stuff with class-based component than you can do with functional component. So that is one difference. So when there is some JSX, that is when there is a function, when you need to create a component which will just return some JSX, then making a functional component will be a reasonable approach in that situation. And then I learned about Babel. What Babel is a compiler or transpiler which transpeats or interpret. I don't know, what's that? Transpeat? Is that even a word? Whatever. So Babel converts all the modern JavaScript code to ES5 so that every browser can understand. And also Babel converts all the React stuff to ES5. So Babel is we need, of course, and then we need Webpack. So okay, not we need, but I learned. So I learned about Babel, I learned about Webpack. So Webpack is nothing but it's a tool that manages your tasks. So it just makes everything automated. It's quite awesome when I first learned about it, because I also, and I'm sure you also face this situation, that you have a big project which has an index.html file, and that index.html file loads all the script tags and the CSS files and all sorts of stuff. So what happens is, basically it's making whole lot of requests, right? Because it's just making requests to all sorts of files. And of course it has to, because in a big project you have to divide, you have to manage multiple files, you have to write every part of code in different files so that it's manageable. But then loading all those files together is a bit slow process. So what Webpack does is, it just bundles everything that your application needs to a single file, and your index.html will just load that file and it will get everything it needs. So if your project needs jQuery, if your project needs Bootstrap or whatever, then what will Webpack do is, it will just copy all the jQuery code, it will just copy all the Bootstrap code, and it will just paste it in one file. when you were delivering the uh, uh, when you were delivering your pages to the client side. So of course on the development you will have multiple files, but during production, during sending, you'll just send one file. So that is an amazing thing. But then configuration is something which is a little bit complicated in Webpack, so I learned about that, how you can configure Webpack to automatically detect changes made in any sort of JavaScript file, so that you can then run the Babel through and then transpile all the code and then write all the code to the JavaScript file, to a single JavaScript file that your application will load. So there is a loader for that, which is called Babel loader, and Webpack uses that to do all such tasks. Then you can also you can also convert all the SAS code into and write into one CSS file, so that it's easy for you to manage CSS code, but then it's easy for the browser also, because it will just load only one CSS file. So this is very much interesting and awesome tool, Webpack. It's pretty brand new, pretty modern, and pretty high-tech and hot in the market. So this will definitely help in the future. And then importing and exporting components. So how you can import components, how you can export components. And then, which is ongoing right now, which is I'm learning right now, is React routers. So React router, there are two types of like routing on the client side, right? So on the Angular JS, we have Angular routers, and then on the React, we also have React routers, which is different, which doesn't come integrated with the core React library. So you have to install it as a different module. And then I currently I'm learning about link and navlink component that React router provides, through which you can do routing on the client side. That means no request will be done to the server side. So all the routing will be handled by the client side JavaScript only, and that is done by link and navlink. So pretty much exciting time for me right now when it comes to React, because I'm just so damn loving it, because I'm understanding it so much better now, and I can't wait to just complete it and just learn everything, and then just do and just build something with React. I just can't wait for that. And then number 2 is I completed all the sections of the portfolio. So yeah, all the sections. I mean, I completed the header section, which you already saw. I completed the about section, which you didn't see. I completed the portfolio section, and I completed the contact section. And I'm really excited to show this. So that's it for today, and see you next time. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and you guys are hustling, and all the best.